and today we are going to talk about learning languages. If you like to learn a language and if you have got a special secret, please come and share this secret with us. We are going to have an interesting discussion, and I hope that the class is going to be interesting today. So if you have nothing to do, or if you are busy, please do it later and join our discussion. Now let's make a pause and wait for the students to come. And I've got a few minutes to get ready with my materials. Where are they? Here they are. Yes. Everything is ready. And let's wait a little. Hello, Michael. How are you? Hello, hello. We've got one more student coming. Hello, how are you? Do you hear us? Do you hear us?
Yes, I do.
Great. How are you?
I'm okay, thanks. How about you?
Fine, thank you. How was your day today?
It was great, thanks. How about yours?
Fine, thank you. Where are you from?
I'm from Algeria.
Algeria, yes. Great. Is this your first class at amilingo.com?
Yes, it is.
Good, great. Today we are talking about learning languages. Do you like to learn a language?
Yes, of course.
Yes. Okay, and one more student is with us. Hanna, hello, how are you? Hanna, do you hear us? Hanna, do you hear us?
I think she don't. Or
She doesn't.
I think she hears us, but yeah, she has something wrong with microphone.
Mm-hmm. Hanna, please fix your mic. There is an icon on the top of the page. Please press on it and try to make it active.
She
Okay.
what I hear. No? I hear. She... I think now she hears us.
We can try to continue lesson, and I help Anna.
Yes, and Anna is going to join us later, maybe.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Good. How was your day today?
Day is fine.
Good. What have you been doing? Did you go to work or stay at home?
I'm staying home because I didn't have work now.
Mm-hmm. So you're a happy person, aren't you?
I'm maybe not very happy
Not
person
very
because
happy.
I'm not really work now.
Yes, I understand. But I hope that very soon you're going to get one, and the one you like, and the one that is going to be well paid, and so on and so forth. So I wish you to have a job that you want to get. And hello, Alexander. How are you? Do you hear us?
Hello. Yes, I hear you. I'm fine.
How was your day? What have you been doing today? Have you been busy?
I have been working as usual.
As usual.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you. Mona, hello, how are you? Do you hear us? Mona, hi, how are you? Good evening. Do you hear us?
Hi, Oksana.
How are you?
Hello.
Hello, hello, Hannah. Yes, so great that you can hear us. Do you hear us well?
Yes.
Where are you from?
I'm from Belarus.
Belarus, great.
Yes.
How long have you been studying language?
I was beginning at school study.
I started to learn language at school. Am I right?
Yes.
have you studied English or any other language at school?
I studied English and Russian and Belarusian.
Okay, great. Yuri, what about you? How many languages do you know, and what languages have you studied at school?
I studied Ukrainian,
Yes.
Russian and English, but in the institute I studied German.
German.
I learned German only 7 years,
I
but
see.
but English from 5 years.
I see. Good, great. Thank you, Alexander. What languages do you speak?
I speak Russian and English. That's all.
Russian and English. Great. Yes. Yulia, hello. How are you? Do you hear us?
Hello, I hear you.
Hello. Great. How was your day today?
Good, thank you.
What have you been doing? Did you go to work or stay at home?
Sorry?
What have you been doing today? Did you go to work or stay at home?
I was at work today.
What are you by profession?
I'm custom broker.
Okay, great. And how many languages do you speak?
English, Ukrainian, and Russian.
I understand. How long have you been studying English?
Almost 2 years, but it's not good.
What about
Yes.
school? Did you start learning languages at school?
Yes, I started learning English at school, but it was not good. I have not good teacher.
I see it wasn't effective. And you
Yes.
hope to improve it later now. Yes, am I
Yes.
right? Yeah. Michael, what about you? What languages do you speak, and which one have you started to learn at school? Michael, do you hear us?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I prefer to speak Russian and learn English, and that's all.
Yes, great. Thank you. Maybe someone has got a special secret of learning languages?
Special
Hannah?
secret.
Yes.
To don't learn or just have a practice and
Yes, to
happen.
learn and to have practice. Good idea. Yes.
Listening to, I think, may I add something?
Yes, sure. You may.
Yes. Listening to the English music is really helpful.
Yes, I
Listening
agree.
to English music, watching movies, even cartoons can help.
Yes, yes. What's your favorite English movies and cartoons that you watched?
Cartoons?
Mm-hmm.
SpongeBob.
Yes, okay. What about you, Alexander? Do you watch movies and cartoons to improve your English?
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
My
Do you like
favorite
to
cartoon.
watch movies without a translation? Or with subtitles, without subtitles?
It depends on how difficult is movie or cartoon.
If you can understand it good, so you try to listen to it without translation. Am I right? And to watch it
Yes.
without translation.
Yes.
Yuri, what about you? Do you like to watch English movies without translation?
I like to see
I like watching English movie, but sometimes I can't understand some dialect.
Yes.
Sometimes with subtitles, but I try to watch movie without subtitles.
Good, thank you. What movies have you watched in English?
Oh,
Julia?
I don't know. I
2
don't
or 3
remember.
or 5, or you can't count them? 2 or 3
No.
movies or more?
More, maybe 10,
10
maybe
movies.
more. Yes.
So you think that it is helpful. I'm happy about it. And we have got one more student. Yulia, hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm
Yes,
fine.
yes.
You?
Yes, one more. We have got two Yulias today. Yes, great. So, Yulia, today we are talking about learning languages. Do you think that it is possible to learn a language very quickly and effortless? So, without special efforts? What do you think?
I
Is it possible?
think it's possible to learn very quickly if you live in the country your language is.
Mhm.
But
Abroad, for example, yes.
better you need to learn grammar too.
Mhm.
Because if not, you can learn with many mistakes.
Mhm.
Mistakes.
Yes. So, what about mistakes? Are they important to be corrected while learning a language or not? Yulia.
Yes, because when I live in France,
Mhm.
I learn French very quickly.
Mhm.
I don't know how it was possible, but I learn quickly. But I make a mistake too. If nobody courage encourage you, it's not good.
I see, I see. Well, Kami, what do you think about making mistakes? Are they necessary to be corrected, or while learning a language, we do not have to pay attention to them?
Actually, when we learn new language, we we make some mistakes.
Mhm.
So we learn from our mistakes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Some mistakes we shouldn't make it maybe so easy, and some mistakes is really difficult to learn to avoid to make these mistakes.
Yes. So,
If you know what I mean.
when a person is communicating all the time and trying to speak, it is natural for a person to make a mistake. Am I right?
Yes, yes.
And
You are.
if a person understands that he or she has made a mistake and tries to correct it, he or she is having a kind of evolution in learning the language, a kind of a progress. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree. I do.
So it is a good way of learning languages by understanding your mistakes and the mistakes of others.
Of
What do you
course.
think about it, Alexander?
About mistake,
Yes.
I think it's not good when we make mistake, but nobody corrects. Maybe our speech can be
Fluent.
no, I would say
Correct.
can be awful. No.
Yes, with them. Yes, I agree with you completely. But some people are not so very confident about it, and they are really shy about making mistakes. What should such people do, Yuri?
Try to practice more and more.
Yes, you're right, Yuri. What do you think, Yuri?
What? To train
About being shy of making a mistake.
to train a lot of.
To train a lot. To train a lot. So, how much time is it necessary to train and to practice your language? What do you think? Hanna? Hanna, do you hear us? How much time is it necessary to pay attention to learning the language?
Maybe 1 hour a day.
1 hour a day. Yulia, what do you think?
I don't know. I think learning English don't need many time because
Lots of time.
as for me, I know words, I can write, but I can't speak. I don't know why.
So you can write, read, and not speak.
Yes, I don't know why. Well,
Yes, I understand. Maybe you need
I
some
forget
practice.
all what I know.
Maybe you need some practice with teachers and foreigners, and I think it is going to help you a lot. I think that it is going to be a success. We've got one more student, Shahid. Am I right? Hello, how are you? Do you hear us?
Sorry, what?
We've got one more student. Can you introduce yourself? Do you hear us? Shahid?
Maybe we can come to him later. Okay.
Later, yes. Okay. So if you hear us, please join our discussion. Okay. Okay. Mona, do you hear us?
Yes.
Good. How much do
Yes.
you pay attention to to learning a language a day? How much time do you spend on learning a language a day?
Each activity was find person or friends.
It is a little bit difficult to hear you, but still we hope that we'll be able to hear you later. Michael,
Okay.
how much time do you spend for learning a language a day? 2 minutes, 5 minutes, half an hour, or more? Michael, do you hear?
Yes, it's a question for me.
Yes, for you.
Okay. I spend maybe 1 hour or 2 hours per day.
1 or 2 hours per day. Yes. Kami, what about you? How much time?
1 hour and more. If I have free time, I can practice more and more. Why not?
So if you have time, you practice.
Yes, when we have free time, practice. Why not? Practice makes perfect.
Thank you. What was the longest period of time that you've been practicing your English?
Actually, I am an English student. I have studied 4 years in the university. So I always learn English, always check some videos, always check some rules in grammar.
So you're learning a foreign language, English, in the university,
Yes,
is that right?
yes, of course, yes.
Are you going to become an interpreter or a teacher of English or something like that?
Yeah, teacher for beginners.
A foreign language.
Yes, teacher of English for beginners. Yes.
Yes, I understand. Do you think that this career is going to be good for you?
Yes, I think. Yeah, I like teaching. Teaching for women is a really good job.
Thank you. Good idea. Alexander, how much time do you spend on learning a language a day?
I try to spend minimum 2 hours a day, but not every time I do it.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Yuri, what about you?
2 or 3 hours a day.
2 or 3 hours a day. Yulia?
Me?
Yes?
0 minutes because I'm very lazy. I can't to learn English with grammar, with book. It's impossible. Sometimes I watch a movie in English. For example, Sherlock Holmes. I like.
Yes, that's
I
good.
have Bond and Yuri Golitsky. Grammar.
Grammar.
And Kaushansky.
Okay, good. Hannah, what about you? Do you hear us, Hannah? How much time do you spend on learning a language?
Once a week with a small time.
Little time, a little time. Half an hour a day or something like that? Or more?
When I have the time, I try to learn English.
To learn English. Good. So, what do you think is the most difficult thing in learning a language? Learning grammar, learning vocabulary, having some listening skills, or communicating with people? What do you think is the most difficult task, Yuri?
Maybe communicating with foreigners.
Communicating with foreigners. Why do you think so?
Because I call for men to England and I speak with foreigners from Britain.
From Britain.
It was the first practice, and I think it's difficult for me to understand
You
how
spoke English with them?
to speak with them.
Yes. I understand you completely. So communicating is the most difficult task for you. What about you, Alexander? Do you agree that communication in English is difficult, and especially with foreigners?
No, for me, listening is is the biggest problem.
Listening.
Listening, yes.
Thank you. Kami, what about you? What do you find the most difficult task in learning a language?
I think vocabulary is the most difficult one
to master.
Everyone, yes. Everyone, every day we hear new words. Okay? Vocabulary is infinite.
Yes, and they are difficult to remember.
Yeah, difficult to remember the meaning. And we have seen one word have more than one sense. This is really
yes.
confusing.
How many words do you usually learn a day?
2 or 3 words.
2 or 3 words. What do you do to learn the vocabulary? Do you have some special secret or a tip?
As I have told you, I watch movies, I watch some videos on YouTube to learn English. I check some websites.
Yes, I understand.
Something like that.
Okay, that sounds great. And what about flashcards? There is a good idea to learn English verbs and words by writing them on special cards and putting them everywhere in order to remember.
It is a good idea, but I didn't try it.
I understand, yes. Michael, what about you? What do you find the most difficult task in learning the language?
Maybe it's the times which we don't use, which we use rarely.
Yes.
Because it's hard to remember it when you don't use it.
Okay, thank you. Mona, do you hear us?
Yes.
Let's try to...
I think there is no magical way to learn a language, but some hard work.
Hard work.
Yes, some hard work and practice, and you will be able to...
So 99% is a hard work and practice, and only 1% is going to be a talent. Do you agree? Yes, thank you for your answer. Yulia, what do you think about learning a language, and what do you find the most difficult task? Yulia?
I am.
Yes, you're welcome, please.
For me, I think the most difficult thing in learning English is grammar. Or not all time. Why?
Yes. It is very difficult to hear you. Please fix your mic and get ready to speak.
Hello.
Yes, yes, it is better, but still we didn't hear you.
Sorry.
Maybe you need to speak more close.
Closer, yes. Take your mic closer and try to speak. The way I do. I always have a problem with my mic. That's why I have to carry it so close. And I hope that Yulia is going to fix it and try to answer the question. So what is the most difficult task in learning a language for you?
For me?
Yes.
For me, it's more difficult is grammar.
Grammar.
Grammar, yes. Because I haven't the force to learn grammar. It's very boring. And
very boring.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. And what do you think is the good way out? How can we make our grammar lessons more interesting and more effective? Can you give us an advice?
For me, it's more easier if I go to London, for example. In 1 year, I can speak very well, because when I understand all languages, for me it's more easier to learn grammar. But now when I speak so bad, I don't understand everything. It's very difficult to learn grammar. I can remember the rules.
Remember the rules, yes. I agree with you completely. So if we know the words, it is easier for us to learn the grammar. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yulia? Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Which Yulia? Which Yulia? With Richard?
Yulia with a cat.
Okay.
Okay. Good, good.
Yes, I agree with you.
Thank you. And Yulia without a cat.
Yeah.
So how can we make our grammar lessons more exciting, more colorful, and more and brighter? What do you think is the good way out of this situation? Do you think that communicative approach in learning grammar is good one or not?
Yes, I think it is. It is. I don't know. As for me, it's very hard work to learn, and to learn. I don't know why.
Yes, I understand you. Yes, okay. Mona, do you hear us? Mona?
Yes.
Yes. What do you think about learning grammar? Do you have a secret of learning grammar? How do you learn grammar?
I learned grammar very well, but sometimes we didn't find free time to learn more.
So you think that a lack of time is a problem for you? I think, Kami, what do you think about?
We should pay the grammar.
We should pay attention to grammar, to learning the rules. Kami, what about you? Do you study grammar in the university?
Yeah, we have studied grammar, some rules, and we have studied some
Do you prefer to do the exercises or to learn the rules?
Learning, first of all, learning the rules, then exercising.
Yes. How do you remember the spelling, Kami?
From practice.
From practice. From practice. Alexander, what about you? How do you remember how to write the words, the correct spelling of the words?
I nothing do for it.
I do nothing about it.
I do nothing about it. I have no problem with this. I have a lot of problem with other aspects of English.
With other aspects of English, okay. Yuri, what about you? How do you improve your spelling?
I don't have problems with it.
The spelling, okay. Hanna, what about you? Do you like to remember the English words and how to spell them?
I do nothing. When I hear the word, I know how to write it.
How to write it. Okay. And another question for you, Yulia. If you have a good knowledge of English, what are you going to do next? Why do you need learning of the language? Is it so necessary, so important for you? Yulia? Yulia, yes.
I don't know. It's necessary for me because I want to change my work, maybe try to go abroad, and it's important to learn English, to know English well.
Yes, okay. Well, Mona, why do you need your English for? Yes.
First of all, I love English as a language. Sometimes I embarrassed if I'm not speaking the language properly. That inner critic is our own worst enemy. I want to speak English, but sometimes I fear.
Yes.
I'm scared.
I understand you. Yes, Yulia, do you have anything to add? Because I interrupted you. It seems to me that I've interrupted you.
Me?
Yes?
No,
No?
I don't know.
Okay, okay. Michael, what about you? Why do you need your English for? What is your purpose of learning English?
Maybe it's like basic, I don't know how to say it, like things which I can use in the future.
Your personal growth.
Now, if you know English, you can read maybe some articles or.
You have access to lots of information that is in English. I agree with you. And Kami, why do you learn the English for?
I'm learning English to develop my level more and more.
Yes, thank you, Alexander. Yes.
Me too. I want to. I like to learn English, and I want to travel abroad.
Abroad.
And to practice.
Yes, good idea, good. And Yuri, what do you think about learning languages? Why do you learn it for?
I like to learn English. That's why, because I like to read in original the books.
The books in original, yes.
To communicate with foreigners for all the world.
Yes, okay, good. Thank you. Yulia, with a cat.
Yeah?
Yes.
Why? I learn for the pleasure, but I know I never reach the aim because it's impossible to learn like I learn English. But maybe it will be necessary the English in the future because I know. No, not I know, but maybe will be it's a big war in the Europe, in America. I know many people from America and Europe came to Russia. You know, this is prediction. You know.
Yes, yes, I do.
Maybe it will be necessary one day. But why is it so?
Okay, thank you for your answer. Hanna, do you agree with Yulia? Why do you learn the language for?
Yes, I like traveling so much, and later in my job it will be necessary.
Necessary for your future job. Yeah. Okay. Do you think that internet is helpful in learning a language, and how does it help us? Yuri, what do you think? Yuri?
Yes.
Yes. What do you think about internet and its influence on learning languages? How does it help you? How does it help you?
Internet. There are a lot of programs to train language skills. Maybe I know the program face-to-face Cambridge course of English. I practice. I have many times. Marinette.
Yes, thank you. Kami, how does internet help you in learning a language?
It helps a lot. We can see or check the courses in writing shape, or we can see it on videos, or we can see it even with pictures to make it more clear. I think it is helping me a lot.
I understand. Thank you. Alexander, do you use internet in learning a language?
Yes, as you can see, I use internet.
Do you find it helpful?
Yes, it's the only way for practice English for me now.
I understand you. Mona, do you use internet in learning a language? Do you hear us, Mona? It seems that Mona can't hear us.
Yeah,
Yulia?
hear you.
You do? Okay, thank you. Do you use internet? And is it helpful?
Internet is so helpful. It's a good idea.
Good idea.
It's a good idea which develop that lead people learning a language
Okay,
over
good. Thank you. Yulia, what about you?
Oh, I use internet many times.
Not very often. Yes.
Not very often. Because in internet you may take get many helpful information.
You can find lots of interesting and helpful information in the internet.
Our class now in the internet, so it's very helpful.
Yes, okay. I hope that you are gonna enjoy it. And now I'm going to share the handout with you. Please open the link, click on it. It's in the chat box. Here are some useful tips for learning a language. We are going to discuss them and say if they are good for us or not so good to use. Tell me if you are ready and if you can open the file.
I am ready.
Ready? Okay, Alexander, you're welcome to read the first tip.
When first starting out, try to just listen to your target language as much as possible without attempting to pick it. This helps you
Acquiring is get.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Could you repeat?
Acquiring is getting or receiving.
Getting,
An ear for the language.
An ear for the language.
So what do you think about this tip? Do you agree that it is helpful?
I didn't understand this.
So if you learn a language, you have to listen as much as possible, without understanding, with understanding, and not trying to communicate. Just listen, and that's all. And it is going to help you to understand the language and to learn it. Do you agree with this tip?
I don't agree. I disagree. I think we have to do other type of learning too.
But should we listen to the foreign language, to some foreigners talking, and to the tapes, or something like that? Is it necessary to listen? What do you think?
Yes, it's necessary because it's
important.
It's important.
But communication is more important, more effective. As
yes, I heard that when we speak the word, we can better hear this word, right?
Yes, yes. We can check the pronunciation and the intonation of the language by listening. Okay, next one, Yulia, you're welcome. Yulia without a cat, you're welcome.
Sorry, but I have a problem with link. I can.
Can you open the file?
No.
No?
Do you see the file?
So in the chat box, there is a link.
Right.
Yulia, use tablet or computer?
I speak in phone because I have problem with my computer. I try to open it with computer. I don't know why.
Okay, I see that it is difficult for you to read. Well, Kami, you're welcome to read the second tip.
Yes. Develop a deep desire to learn the language. Without a desire, you won't get far. I agree.
Yes, okay. Any comment on it?
Yes.
Yes, develop a desire to learn a language. Is it so important to wish to learn a language?
Yes, desire makes me grow.
So it's a kind of motivation.
Yes, it pushes us to to learn and make
Make
more
some-
research about information more and more, okay? Without desire or the will, we can't acquire the language easily.
Yes, thank you. Yuri, number 3, you're welcome.
Use time for you language learning which is ordinarily awaited. Standing online, waiting for an elevator, etc. are all opportunities not to be missed.
Mhm. Do you agree with this tip? Do you think that it is useful for you?
Yes, I think it's useful. When I go to the street, I translate some articles, some reclam.
Words and word combinations, or something like that. You try to remember your vocabulary and something like that. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yulia, you're welcome, Yulia, with a red cat. Yulia, do you hear us?
Julia, turn on your microphone before you start.
Start talking.
Think in terms of phrases and not individual words. It's easy to remember a phrase like a breakfast of bread and butter. Then it is to remember each word in isolation.
What do you think about this tip? Do you think that it is easier for you to learn the words in the word combinations or when they go separately?
No, it's more easy like that for by phrase.
By a phrase. Okay, thank you. Hanna, you're welcome. The next tip.
Use your imagination. Visual images can help you remember words.
What do you think about
agree with
visualization?
this. Imagination is a very
Important in learning a language. Okay, how do you visualize your words that you learn? Do you try to draw, or do you have some symbols to remember the words or something like that?
I like drawing, and
it is helpful.
It helps, and
It helps a lot.
I use some sensations with the word.
You're right. Thank you. Tip number 6. Mona, you're welcome. Mona, do you hear us?
Mona, do you remember Mona use tablet?
It is difficult for you to open the file. Yes, I understand. Okay.
Maybe
So
you can ask. It's like something.
Kami, you're welcome.
Okay. Invest stories using as much of your new vocabulary as possible. Any words you can think of in your tragic language, use your native language and then look up those words later.
What do you think about this tip? Do you invent stories?
Sometimes it helps, yes. Inventing stories to
remember the vocabulary.
Yeah, to use the vocabulary, to remember some vocabulary. Yes, why not?
In written speech. Yeah, right. Thank you. Good of you. Then, Alexander, you're welcome. The next one.
Listen to internet radio broadcast and podcast as much as possible. I think it's helpful, but I'm lazy to do it so much as possible.
To do it a lot. Okay. Thank you, Yuri. You're welcome. Number 8.
Likewise, watch videos. YouTube.com.
Yes. What about videos? Do you like to watch them?
I like, but I didn't watch in YouTube.
You have to try. It could be a good tip for you. Yulia, the next one. You're welcome. Yulia with the red cat. You're welcome.
Sorry, I can't.
Yes. I am asking Yulia with the red cat. Okay. Yes, I know.
Utilize the BBC for news, broadcast, and lessons in your target languages.
So do you use BBC for news broadcasts and lessons in your target language? Do you utilize?
Yes, sometimes yes.
Is it helpful to you? Does
Sorry?
it help? Does it help?
Yes, it helps me for understand English.
Hanna, hello. The next one. Utilize.
Utilize flashcards or small notebooks to review vocabulary, words, and phrases.
We already talked about flashcards. Do you use them?
I don't use it, but maybe it's a good idea.
In future, you'll try to do it. Okay, yes. The next one. Kami, you're welcome.
11, number 11.
Yes.
Invent funny or silly mnemonic phrases to help you remember new words or concepts.
Concepts, yes. So, do you think that sense of humor is helpful in learning a language?
Yes, sometimes
it's fine.
Idioms
Okay. Thank you. Yuri, at 12, you're welcome.
Use a bilingual dictionary often, not just to look up specific words, but browse through it. Yes, I agree with this statement.
Browse through it, yes. Okay. Alexander, number 13.
Draw columns on paper, words in your native language on the right and target language on the left. This allows your eye to easily scan to one column to the next, and it helps your brain absorb that word. What does absorb mean?
Absorb, yes. Who knows the translation of this word? Absorb. Well, Yuri, do you know how to translate it? Absorb, yes.
Впитывать.
Впитывать, втягивать.
Абсорбировать.
Absorbировать, yes, you're right. Okay, thank you. Okay, so what do you think about it? So we have to draw two columns, and in one column we are going to have a foreign word, and in the other we're going to have a translation. And by comparing them and reading them, we can memorize the vocabulary better. What do you think about this idea?
Sometimes I need to do this when I learn many words in one time.
Yes, okay. What about you, Yuri? Do you do this? Do you like this approach to learning the vocabulary?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. The next item is yours. Yuri, you're welcome.
Write a simple children's book in your target language. Make it silly and utilize simple concepts, and thought a child was actually going to read the book.
Do you think that it is helpful? Can it help? Would you like to use it?
Maybe it's helpful.
Who knows? Who knows? It could be. Okay. Thank you. Yulia with the red cat, you're welcome. Another tip?
I can open the file and...
You can? Can you open the file? You can read it? Can you read it?
Yes.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome, sure. For last.
Lilia, I'm sorry. Try to fix your microphone. You need to speak closer to the microphone.
Learn the past tense before learning the past tense.
So what do you think about this tip? Is it helpful? Can it help learning a language?
I don't know. Maybe.
You know, we've got the table of the verbs that includes past simple and past participle and the infinitive in the first column. Do you think that learning this table is going to help learning a language?
Yes, of course. Sometimes this form is very difficult, and when you this form word in the you can understand what it is.
So I think that it is useful and it is a good idea to do so. Thank you. The next one is for Alexander. You're welcome.
Next,
16.
practice unfamiliar
Sounds
in your target language in the shower or in the car. Example, the English sound, say it over and over.
Alexander, do you like to sing in the shower?
Sing in a shower?
Yes.
No, I don't like.
No. So now I can give you a good advice. You can practice your English sounds while having a shower. Do you think that it is a good idea?
I will try. I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Good idea. And another tip, number 17, is for Hanna. You're welcome.
Use computer programs and free online dictionaries.
Do you use it while learning a language?
Sometimes I use it when in the university I learn the new words about engineering.
Yes, I think that online dictionaries are really very helpful because we do not have to spend and waste our time on looking a word and that we are trying to find in a dictionary, and it is really very helpful, I think. Do you agree, Yuri?
Yes.
What dictionaries do you use? Do you use online dictionaries?
I use online dictionaries and I use some dictionaries which I have.
Yes, I agree with you. Thank you. Next item is yours, 18. Yuri?
When reading, read more slowly and deliberately than you do in your target language. Later, as you progress, your speed will increase to normal level.
Yes, thank you. Is it a good advice to learn faster? So before learning faster, we have to try to read carefully and slowly. Do you think that it is a good tip of learning to read?
It's
How
good
to read?
tip.
It's a good tip. Thank you, Yulia. With the red cat, you are welcome. Another tip, 19.
You need to start more. Okay.
19. Read bilingual books or books in the target languages that you are already familiar in your native language.
Yes. Do you like to read a book in original?
No, because I don't understand. I like to read the sample books, simplified, adapted for the learning.
Simple.
Hanna, what about you? Have you ever read a book in original?
No.
Yes, okay. If you had a chance, would you like to try to do it?
Yes, I would like to try
to do it. And what is stopping you?
Maybe lazy.
Being lazy? I understand. Okay. Well, Yuri, what books have you read in original?
Different. Now I read Hemingway.
Hemingway.
Сборник.
I understand. Okay. That sounds great. Good. Next item, Alexander, you're welcome. Number 20.
Read comics and cartoons in your target language. Read comics and cartoons.
Read comics and cartoons. There is a mistake in this sentence. Can you correct it? Can you correct it?
Double O.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. Yes, I agree with you completely. So, do you think that reading cartoons is helpful?
Cartoons.
Reading comics and watching cartoons.
Это мультики?
Мультики, yes, мультфильмы.
Как их читать?
Yes, read comics. We have to read comics and watch cartoons. I'm sorry, yes.
Yes, I do it. Actually, cartoons, I like cartoons, yes.
Are interesting to watch, and
it's easier than watching film.
Watching a film, and you'll never get bored about learning a language with it.
Yes.
Thank you, Yuri. Number 21.
Don't be afraid to make a mistake.
What do you think about this tip?
This tip is actually because if you're afraid about mistake, you are not studying good.
Studying well. Yes, thank you. Number 22. Yulia with the red cat. You're welcome.
Think in your target language.
Okay, Yulia. Do you think that it is helpful?
Yes, I'm ready. Read the grammar books.
Yes.
Oksana, maybe we can agree with the cat and Yulia broker, because it's hard to understand for whom is this question.
Yes, okay.
I'll try to ask again.
Yes, I've already heard the answers, and I'm very happy that I've got 2 answers instead of 1. So both Julius gave me correct and good answers, and I think that this tip is going to be helpful. Nevertheless, we do not like to read grammar books. Sometimes we have to do it. Then the next one, Alexander, number 23.
Think in your target language. I think
Do you think it is possible to think in English, and do you do it often?
Yes, sometimes I do it, and I'm afraid of. Sometimes I will speak in English, and somebody can't understand me.
I understand you. Okay, and Kami, do you think that it is helpful to think in a target language, in language you are learning?
Yes, it is. It is better than think in another language. We should think in the target language.
Yes, okay. Michael, what about you? I know that you pay lots of time to learning a language, and sometimes even 2 hours per day. Do you think in English or not? Already?
It's hard to change. Maybe if you talk more than 3 hours per day, not per day, 3 hours подряд как-то.
In a day.
In one period, yeah.
In one period of time.
You can change it and think on this language.
I don't understand. What is a target language?
The language that you are learning, a foreign language. It's a target language. The language of your goal, the language that you are learning or want to learn or want to master. This is the target language. Hanna, what about you? Have you ever thought in an English language?
Sometimes, but it's a small practice.
You need a little more practice, I think. Okay, thank you, but I think that this tip is really very helpful. The next tip, 24, and Yuri, you're welcome.
Put stickers in everyday life items until you learn their names.
What do you think about this tip? For example, you have got stickers on everything in your house, and the guests arrive to visit you, and everything is in stickers. How are you going to explain it? Aren't you afraid of such a situation? Yuri?
It's not very well, maybe.
It's not very good. Not very good. So, Alexander, do you think that it is a good idea?
Put stickers in every day. It's too boring for me.
Too boring. Kami, what about you? Do you agree with it?
Yes, I agree. Why not? It's a good idea. Funny idea.
Good and funny idea. Why not? So, as far as I can see, we've got different ideas, and sometimes it can be used. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
The last one, then, Alexander, you're welcome to read.
Take an occasion break or a day or 2 off to let your mind sort out your new vocabulary words.
Yes. So do you agree with this tip? Do you think that it is a good to have some rest and to let your brain think about everything that you've learned and put it in the correct order?
Occasional break, what does it mean?
Occasional. So you have to make a pause.
Pause.
Or a holiday. From time to time
or two of
in learning a language.
Sort out vocabulary words. Yes, I heard that we need some
To have
break,
some rest.
to have some rest, and then longer the time we rest, then better we can remember words.
Yes, okay. Well, I see that it's a high time to finish our today's class. I thank you for the discussion, and I think that today's class was interesting for all of us, and we found some useful tips to be used in our practice and in our practical classes. I invite you to my future classes, and I want to wish you a good evening. All the best to you. Maybe some of you has got a question. No questions? Okay, then thank you.
I just want to say thanks a lot, Miss.
Bye-bye.
It was
See you
really
tomorrow.
interesting.
Thanks a lot.
You're
Thanks a
welcome.
lot.
Bye-bye.